Senpai is an introverted second-year high schooler. At the start of episode 1, the nerdy young senpai walked into the school library expecting to find it empty. To his dismay, there is a group of 4 first-years in the library chatting. He took a seat and tried to concentrate on his homework. During the group's conversation and laughter, Sakura indicates to the girls that senpai is observing, suggesting that he is a create. Surprised, he noticed that the group caught his lingering gaze. Shaking with nerves, senpai removed his attention back to his papers, muttering to himself, I'm staying calm, I'm staying calm." Sakura and the group got closer to him in search of a book. Filled with nervous, he knocked over his papers, causing the pages of his manga he drew to spread across the floor. The manga he drew was noticed by Sakura and the girls. They mercilessly criticized and laughed at him until one of the girls received a text that led the girls away. All except one, who introduced herself as a first-year student, calling him senpai. She made a comment on the manga identifying the main character of the manga as senpai. She labeled him and Siegfried as pathetic alter ego. She continues to role-play the characters in the manga, with several action moves and statements from the manga. When senpai is unable to respond following suit, she presses forward, invading his personal space and labeling him a virgin. Kohai notices that senpai is intimidated by her eye contact, and forces him to tears. She shows him that he will never be able to perform such a manly act as caressing the female lead's hair due to a virgin-looking character like him being unable to. However, before to go home, she wiped his tears away with her handkerchief, cheerfully apologized and left it to him as a present. Returning home, senpai was tormented in his dreams by the humiliation he had experienced the day before from the girls. The following day, the girl from Set Dreams approached him in the room the art club was held in. Asking, I didn't know you was part of the arts club. The boy present the gift of a handkerchief back to the girl, stating he had washed it as soon as he got home. However, she persisted to follow him into the room, teasing him seductively again, stating, are we alone in here? She offered to be his drawing model as an apology for teasing him the previous day. He tried to refuse the offer. However, the girl teased him again, stating she would remove her clothes to pose as a nude model, if that's his conditions. Overwhelmed, the boy agrees to draw her if she was to remain clothed. Continuing on to draw the girl, she teases him by promising to give him a reward if he made a good drawing of her. Senpai only managed to draw a simple sketch. She asked him to close his eyes to present him with his reward, only to flick him on the nose for thinking she was going to kiss him. She teases him for thinking he deserved a reward for such a simple drawing. Senpai tried to cover his tears from the girl. She pulls him arms apart and teases him for thinking he was a boy. She proceeds to use the same handkerchief to wipe his tears. Later, walking home, the girl teased senpai repeatedly, first asking him to go out with her, then stating that he was such a creep. Seeing he didn't react, the girl asked him why he didn't get angry, pointing out she was mean to him. However, senpai remembered that he was bullied since early childhood. She suggested that senpai has a crush on her. He then states that she aggravates him, however he still enjoys talking to her. She instructs him to stop calling her miss and goes on to introduce herself as Nagatoro. Nagatoro rushed into the art club room with a hula hoop as senpai is drawing a glass jar. She asks him to jump into the hula hoop, slip in whenever. As he bent down to enter, he mistakenly looked up her skirt and saw her panties. This enraged Nagatoro, causing her to blush and hit him with the hula hoop. It was a stormy afternoon and senpai was preparing to read a long-awaited erotic manga he bought. Nagatoro entered the room, catching him by surprise. She asks why he was prepared to eat all by himself and asks what he has to eat. Senpai reluctantly responds and offers her some of his yakisoba. She rejects it and states, why would you offer a girl your leftovers? This is why you are single. She proceeds to ask him to show her what he was reading, causing senpai to feel embarrassed. She managed to snatch the erotic manga out of his hands by seducing him and offering to, do you know what? If he asked politely after taking it from, she accused him of being a pervert. Senpai tries to defend himself, stating that sexy stuff are always shown in mangas, saying the erotic scenes were just bonus and he was actually interested into reading the vampire story. Intrigued, Nagatoro continued reading the manga. She found the story amusing and joking about one of the vampiress victims being similar to senpai. She then reassured him that, being a virgin, he won't have to worry even if caught by a vampire because he won't turn into ghoul if bitten. This caused senpai to blush, stating that Nagatoro wouldn't be able to confirm that he was a virgin without being a virgin. She asked senpai to give him a bite to test if she was really a vampire, stating all the talk about vampires has worked up an appetite as she sits on top of him. He mentions that someone would get the wrong idea if they are seen. She halts her advance due to senpai's garlic breath. He tried to stand only to be pinned back down to the floor by Nagatoro. Her right hand lands on senpai groin, stating that he finally got lucky. Later that evening, as they were walking home, Nagatoro asked senpai if that was his first time being touched by a girl down there. Asking, did you get hard? Senpai refused to answer and she asks to squeeze it again. She teases him, luring him in, only to grab his rib. Later that night, senpai got an erection envisioning the events of the day. The next day, Nagatoro asked senpai to play a game, in which the player had to guess where the other person's nipples were, and then proceed to poke them above their clothes. He refused to play as he believed she would find a way to make him regret it. She again offers to give him a prize if he took part. She offers him a ticket that would enable the winner of the game to do whatever they wanted. "You can use it to force me to do something crazy." Nagatoro managed to win the game. She mentioned that she would hold on to the ticket to use on an unexpected day at a later stage in their relationship. The roles reversed. Senpai tries to guess where Nagatoro nipples are hiding. This caused Nagatoro to blush. She used an excuse of a text message to escape, stating that she had forgotten she had a date with her friends. Later that night, senpai stopped by her favorite restaurant on a far road from the school, in order to continue his manga. However, Nagatoro and Sakura entered the restaurant with 2 other boys. He hid away and watched from a distance as the girls turned on their dates out of boredom. She was very respectful, without being aggressive or bullying. She scolded her friend for continuing to set her up with boys. Walking back home, senpai wondered why he is the only guy Nagatoro picked on. Senpai attempted to ask Nagatoro questions. However, reluctant to reveal his questioning, they simply just walked home together. While senpai was drawing quietly in the classroom, Nagatoro suddenly enters, making him feel surprised and nervous. She asks him to be his drawing model, but rejecting her, he steps away, making clear that his preference is drawing objects rather than humans. However, Nagatoro starts to strip, pulling down her skirt, causing panic and freaking out senpai. He nervously begs her to cover herself, insisting many times. Although Nagatoro ignores him and takes it further, she opens her shirt next to his face. While senpai is shaking and panicking, thinking that she is naked, Nagatoro reveals she is wearing a swimsuit for the swimming club. Laughing at his situation, she dares to ask him if he was waiting to see something different, while intimidating him, calling him a pervert. Senpai gets angry and stays quiet. Senpai and Nagatoro escape from the rain on their way back home. Senpai, whilst exhausted, advises her to leave without him. However, she tells him to stop talking nonsense and go hide until the rain disappears. She leads him to stay under a gazebo. Meanwhile, the 2 dry off. Nagatoro hints to senpai that since her uniform is wet, her entire body is visible, making him feel restless and nervous. Nagatoro, while covering her breasts, makes a scene asking for help, wondering what he would do to her. Senpai, terrified, answers that he wouldn't do anything. Tired of her games, he wonders if Nagatoro was wearing that swimsuit again. So senpai decided to turn around to find out if Nagatoro is pranking him again, but to his surprise, Nagatoro wasn't lying and he catches a glimpse of her bra. Senpai sat back down embarrassed, while he apologized to Nagatoro. Nagatoro, to her advantage of his insolence, teases him and calls him a pervert, while she approaches, gently touching his shoulder. He restlessly tries to explain himself helplessly. The rain and wind began to beat hard at them. Nagatoro fearfully complains about the weather while sneezing, and senpai turns towards her concerned. His eyes are immediately on her visible uniform. He freaks out, while Nagatoro, enjoying it, keeps calling him pervert. They decide to get to their destination, but the heavy downfall of rain makes it difficult for senpai, so as Nagatoro's home is closer, she offers him to come with her. Upon arrival, senpai is polite and enters until she says so. Instantly he sees her family shoes, but Nagatoro expresses that they are not home. She offers him her brother's clothes and a towel. In the room, he fantasizes about the towel, thinking that she gave him the same towel that she used before him, while she looks at him from far and laughs at his bad luck, telling him it's a different towel. Later that evening, she invites him for a tea in her bedroom. Senpai has never been so uncomfortable, and she tells him that she knows it's his first time in a girl's room. After, she touches his hand softly, suggesting that people do different things with their bodies in the room. Senpai hysterically thinks wrongly, while she mocks and shows him the game of body combat of her brother, that she met from the beginning. Senpai for the first time feels strong and confident, making her feel weak, and decides to take revenge for everything she did to him in the past. Although Nagatoro's competitiveness, she doesn't give up easily and decides to play with her rules. She pushes and tickles him, also teases him so he can't win, while naming him pervert and scarab. Later, senpai thanks her for the invitation and she tells him that they should meet up again. The next day, senpai walks to the dining hall. He is lost trying to find a place, until he sees Nagatoro with her friends. She invites him to her table. Senpai looks at them and imagines it will be like hell sitting with them 3, but as he has no choice, he agrees. One of her friends surprises him, questioning if he is Nagatoro's boyfriend. He frankly denies it, while Nagatoro begs to differ, grabbing hold of his arm and admitting so. Senpai continues to be confused without knowing how to convince them, whilst Nagatoro laughs the whole time with her friends. Senpai is faced with 3 of them. One of the girls laughs at his bright red strawberry face while the other friend touches his hand, offering herself to be his girlfriend too. Nagatoro is in as much shock as Senpai by what she has just witnessed. They make fun of him, calling him a pet, and Nagatoro happily admits he is her pet while stroking his head. One of the girls tries to touch his hair, but this time Nagatoro stops her, warning her of his dirty and greasy hair. Her friend calls him a slave while the second one tries to touch his shoulder and Nagatoro grabs her hand again without blinking, full of jealousy and anger. Nagatoro for the first time speaks and defends Senpai in front of her friends. He is surprised by her behavior. The situation creates tension between the friends, and finally her friend apologizes. Senpai wonders why Nagatoro defends him, and furiously stands up in front of everyone saying that he is not Nagatoro's boyfriend. After a short silence, the 2 friends laugh at him again due to his stupid behavior, whilst Nagatoro stares angrily at Senpai, with a face of someone who is disappointed. Back in the art room, Nagatoro complains about Senpai's behavior since he never stands up for himself. She proposes him to use the traditional manzai, and he likes the idea. Nagatoro provokes him, so he practices the techniques with her, but suddenly he is offended to the point of crying, until she convinces him. Afterwards, Senpai instantly reacts, hitting her on her chest. They both freak out. Ashamed, he apologizes while she is amazed at his action. She advises him to do it on her shoulder next time. Nagatoro questions if he meant to hit her in the chest on purpose, calling him a pervert. Senpai reacts instantly, explaining he would never intend to do that, and gives up with Nagatoro's never-ending torments.